Historical Antecedents in the course of Science and Technology, Ancient Times, Part 2. Sailboat during Sumerian civilization. Another challenge for the Sumerian was transport. At that time, the wheel was not yet invented. The main mode of transport was through waterways, such as rivers and seas. Boats have been used to carry large quantities of products and have been able to cover long distances. However, they wanted to discover distant lands to settle, since the population was growing and the boats were not enough to accommodate more people and products. They needed a mode of transport that didn't require a lot of human resources. Some sources attribute the invention of sailboats to the Sumerians in order to meet their growing demands. Two-wheeled carriage during the Sumerian civilization. The Sumerian did not invent wheeled vehicles, but they probably created the first two-wheeled carriage, in which the driver drove a team of animals. These wheels was not made for transportation, but for farm work and food processes. With the use of the wheel and axle, mass production was made easier. Farmers were able to mill grains with less effort in less time. The plow was invented to dig the earth in a faster pace. As the plow breaks the ground, the farmers would just drop the seeds and farm work would already be done. With this tool, farmers could cultivate larger parcels of land faster, enabling them to mass produce food without taking so much effort and time. The road during Sumerian civilization. In order to make travel easier, the Sumerians developed the first roads. With this work, the flow of transport has become faster and more organized. They made the roads with the same technology that they used to make the sand-baked bricks that they laid down on the ground. Later, they poured bitumen, a black sticky substance similar to asphalt, to smoothen the roads. The invention of roads was very useful, especially during the rainy season, when traveling its soft and muddy roads proved to be too difficult. The summary of Sumerian civilization contributions are: cuneiform, Uruk-City, the Great Ziggurat of Ur, irrigation and dikes, sailboat, two-wheeled carriage, plow, and the road. Babylonian civilization. Babylonian civilization emerged near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. They were known as great builders, engineers, and architects who contributed a lot in the world. One of their major contributions is the Hanging Garden of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Structure made up of layers upon layers of gardens that contained several species of plants, trees, and vines. According to the legends, the great Babylonian king, Nebuchadnezzar II, built the gardens for his wife, Queen Amytis. However, no physical evidence have been found to prove the existence of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. An exact location is also unknown. Since time immemorial, people have been debating about the existence of the said mythical place. Many said it was just a product of the creative imagination of the great king, because it lacked documentation or archaeological evidence. Egyptian civilization. Another early civilization famous for its history is the Egyptian civilization, found in North Africa. There are several stories about the engineering achievements of the Egyptians, particularly concerning the infrastructure set up by the pharaohs. It is also safe to say that the pyramid is not the only contribution of Egyptian civilization to the modern world. Egyptians were known because of infrastructures and engineering technology which still amazed the people of today. Apart from engineering technology, the Egyptians have contributed other practical things that are now considered important by the world. While Egypt was not the first to establish a writing system, it was able to make writing simpler for the world. Egyptian paper or papyrus innovation was a welcome development. Papyrus was a plant that grew abundantly along the river Nile in Egypt. In addition, record keeping was no longer a concern. As records did not take up vast storage spaces, it was also easier to keep them away from the raiders, who also destroyed the archives of the nations they conquered. Ink in the Egyptian civilization. Using papyrus to write on would not have been of much use without the invention of ink. Ancient Egyptians mixed vegetable gum, soot, and beeswax to produce black ink. Eventually, the soot was replaced by other ingredients such as red ochre to produce different shades of ink. Hieroglyphics in Egyptian civilization. The Egyptians believed that this writing system was provided to them by their gods. The word hieroglyph literally means sacred carvings. This form of writing can still be seen today and remain to be as famous as the pyramids where they were found. Hieroglyphics was the language that tells the modern world of the history and culture of the ancient Egyptians. Their records were well preserved since they were carved at the Walls Pyramid and other important Egyptian structures. The Egyptians also invented the use of cosmetics. Cosmetics in the modern times are used to improve and highlight the facial features of a person. Their function in ancient Egypt was for both health and aesthetic reasons. They wore kohl around the eyes to prevent or even cure eye disease. Another cosmetic invention of ancient Egyptians is the wig. At present, wigs are used to enhance the appearance of people who are balding or those who want to try new hair trends. Meanwhile, during the ancient Egyptian times, wigs were worn for health and wellness rather than for aesthetic purposes. The wigs were used to protect the shaved heads of the wealthy Egyptians from the harmful rays of the sun. Wearing a wig was better than putting on a scarf or any other head cover, since a wig allowed heat to escape. Moreover, it was considered cleaner than natural hair because it prevented accumulation of head lice. Egyptian civilization, water clock, clepsydra. This system uses gravity that influences the flow of water from one vessel to the other. The amount of water remaining in the device determines how much time has passed before it is completed. Time is calculated in the process The water clock was commonly used as a timekeeping system in ancient times. In summary, Egyptian civilization contributions are pyramid, papyrus, ink, hieroglyphs, cosmetics, wig, and water clock, clepsydra. Greek civilization, alarm clock. Greek is an archipelago in the southeastern part of Europe, known as the birthplace of Western philosophy. Some of the major achievements of the Greek includes in-depth works of philosophy and mathematics. More than colosseums and the Olympics, the Greek civilization has contributed much to the world, especially in the fields of science and technology. The aim was to tell the person when to stop or when to start. They used water or sometimes small stones or sand that fell into the drums that sounded the alarm. The 4 vessels lined up vertically was Plato's alarm clock, which he uses to mark the beginning of his lecture. Once the second vessel was full at a given time, the water siphoned off at a faster rate into the third vessel, which would cause to create a whistling noise. Then this vessel would empty towards the fourth vessel for storage and reuse. Watermill has been an ancient Greek invention. They were widely used in agricultural processes such as grain milling, which was a required type of food processing. Milling has been made possible by the use of watermill. It is better than mills powered by farm animals, which was invented by the Sumerians. Watermills, the mass processing of rice, cereal, flours, and the like, has become popular and required less effort and time to operate, since the former didn't have to raise animals to operate the mill. They only required access to rivers of flowing waters or a mechanism of a large wheel with small buckets of water attached to it could be installed. Greek civilization contributions are alarm clock and water mill. Roman civilization, newspaper. The Roman Empire was regarded as the greatest political and social force in the West. During that time, it was considered to be the cradle of politics and governance. Since the Roman Empire was so large, other civilizations treated it as their model in terms of legislation and codified rules. The first newspapers, known as gazettes, were engraved on metal or stone tablets and then publicly displayed. When a paper was published, it became easier for the Romans to publish items that needed the attention of Roman people. With the advent of paper, minutes of the proceedings of the Roman Senate were done in shorthand. These documents were edited and released on the same day they were collected. Book-bound or codex during the Roman civilization. Record keeping was much easier since paper did not easily break. As a result, civilizations became fond of record keeping, especially documenting historical events and newly legislated laws. Literature also changed form, from clay tablets to parchments of paper. According to sources, Julius Caesar started the tradition of stacking up papyrus to form pages of a book. Later on, they were able to provide covers to protect the